God damn, do I love that opening song. It is Monday night, and the Pride Rules MMA podcast returns to bring you another amazing show. As always, this podcast is proudly sponsored by 80K Fightwear, Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu, Madama Jiu-Jitsu, and 2-Minute Warning Sports 360. I am your host, the Reverend Tommy D, the man who tells you to come and fight him. Joined with me by my brother in arms, the Latin sensation that is taking Pride Rules MMA across the nation, El Profesor, Omar Sangarima. ¿Qué pasa, señor?
No mucho. I love the roll into the R's, man. You know what? You got that brown pass. As long as I'm concerned, good old Hector, my boy, over here. Hector Rolando himself.
Hector Rolando in the house. Poor bastard had his head ripped off in the club.
So I feel like you and Ron Mexico could go terrorize some nightclubs. I feel like that's all I think of. I know you love dogs a lot more than that, so I'm not going there. I'm not ever going there. But I think you and him could probably, hook up with little John and hang out for a while.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had an event this weekend, brother. It was a good event. Well, let's talk about that a little bit before we give a phone call to the Lion Fight fighter Steve Put Him to Sleep Walker, who's going to be fighting for the North American Super Cruiserweight Championship against Oliver Fairtex this week on April 21st. Which is next week. So, brother, what did you think of the Poirier versus Gaethje Fox card?
I think it was one of those cards that everybody, myself included, can sometimes sleep on. Sometimes. I know the main event was going to be bananas, just because Gaethje has no regard for life and limb. He storms Normandy beaches with claymores and bows and arrows, and just not caring. So I knew that was going to be crazy, and I know Poirier always he's really trying to make some strides at 155. He's he's putting his retirement on the line here. He wants that belt at least before he goes off into the pasture. The rest of the card though was pretty exciting too. So, everybody was putting it on the line, man. I love it. When you have cards like this after pay-per-view cards as well, I feel like it's good to bolster the product. I just wish the momentum could keep getting carried, but it's hit or miss. Although this weekend was nice. I was excited.
Yeah, this weekend was nice, and next weekend is set up to be real good in Atlantic City. So I think we're beginning to see what life without Conor can be. If they put on the right kind of fights, if they put on the right kind of fight cards.
Transitions are impeccable. I swear to God.
But I'm just saying. But it goes in line with everybody saying, the UFC is boring without Conor. No, it is not. It is definitely exciting. So one thing I wanted to talk about, which was pretty cool, Michelle Waterson got back in the win column against Courtney Casey. I know she needed this win. She's trying to scratch and claw her way up to the top. Do you think she's going to get there?
I think she has the right mindset. I always have a little bit of the haterade for anybody that I feel is pushed too fast due to the fact that they're, aesthetically appealing to the masses. So I'm always, I'm going to give it. But on the flip side, I won't yell at them if they come out and say that they were gang raped as children. You know what I mean? You heard about that a couple weeks ago with another person who gets pushed on her looks, right? Paige Van Zant. I couldn't believe it. I'll be a hater all day, every day. You know me, Tommy. But when it comes to serious business like that, you need to go kill yourself if you're making fun of somebody that comes out and says, "Hey, listen, I had this happen." But the internet's a terrible place. Anyway, I think Michelle is finally in the groove that she needs to be. I don't think she's going to get any crazy over the top pushes anymore. Maybe I hope not, because if she's given the chance to develop, I think she can be a pretty decent fighter on the roster. I just feel like she had some looks and she could, hit the mic well. And then next thing you know, she's getting, we're going to crown her the next king of the division. You can't write that. This is not Vince McMahon stuff. You know, you have to show that you can do it. That's why Conor McGregor, I can't believe I'm becoming the apologist on the show. We're missing our third brother in arms, but that's why Conor's such a rarity. For a while, he was talking shit and he was backing it up. Now, he's gone off the rails, and I'll agree with you there. I won't hashtag fight me, Tommy, but I think Michelle gets, she's where she needs to be, in the mix and allowed to grow, you know? How about you?
Yeah, I think so too. You know, I had the honor of getting to interview her on Cage Side Submissions with Steve. God, it had to be the beginning of the summer, and I mean, she's such a down to earth person. She has the whole fight mom thing behind her, you know, which I mean, it's got to be tough for a guy to have a family while being a fighter, but just think about how hard it is to be a mom and fight.
It's impossible.
You know what I mean?
It's impossible. No.
Yeah.
You have to give the kid to be raised by wolves if you're going to be a fighter, like old school Roman times. You're going to have to hand it off to like a centaur or something. I don't know how the hell to do that. I really goddamn don't. With how much of your everyday, all day life needs to be dedicated to the fight game in order to be successful. It's such an unforgiving profession. How the hell do you factor that in? I mean, Katzengano somehow does it too. There's a bunch of folks that do, but I'm always shocked.
And Katzengano's doing it alone. Let's not forget that.
That's crazy.
You know, she's doing that alone. Michelle's lucky enough to have her husband, who's also her manager, you know, helping out. But Kat's doing that
That's
alone.
true. That's an added nuance. And then there's even, you know, if you want to go 5 shades deep, there's the added nuance of, you know, the tragedy there of why she's doing it alone. It's even
exactly.
worse
That's what
than
I mean. Like, she's doing it alone because of it. You know, like it's
crazy.
rough. It's rough.
You know.
So yeah, I hope this starts to build for Michelle. I really do. Do I see her winning the belt? I don't think so, but it's still to see her up at the top just because of the following that she does have and the following she can continue to have if they promote her more. What do you think?
I think they have a potential star. I'd want, if there's any way to divide the promotion from the boost in competition, like too much too soon. It almost seems as though the UFC has two speeds, walk and kill, like Chuck Norris, where you're under the rug, you're the redheaded stepchild, and you know you're fighting it out in the trenches, and you don't get any shine. Or if you get any sort of marketing push from the MMA machine that is the UFC, suddenly you're fighting savages. Why can't there be, like, as cheesy as it sounds, but I know you're going to eat it up, like in the old school development modes for WWE video games, right? Where, like, you know, you're working on your craft, you're building up your creative fighter there, and you're moving up through the ranks, and you're slowly building, and you're getting shine, you're getting hype, you're getting shine. But you don't jump to, you know, main eventing WrestleMania, even in a goddamn video game, or even in the UFC game if you want to keep it more pertinent. You know, you have to slowly simmer. I just feel like I don't know who the hell's running the show there with the marketing. So the ladies and the gentlemen that do get pushes, whether they're ready for it or not competition-wise, they're getting some ridiculous matchups rather than just, there's no gradual progression on both sides. So either you have folks that are world beaters that nobody knows and or gives a shit about, or you have folks that are getting super pushed, right? They're trying to get them over like crazy, and they're maybe not quite there, which is not to say that they can't get there, and that's how the UFC's eating its young. I don't get it.
Well, in my eyes, any fighter who makes Angelo Magana piss themselves in their fight should be pushed to the top of the bill. But that's just me.
Jesus. Of course, you just man, and I'm the troll, and I got the haterade juice here. So. Your hatred for that lady, it burns with the passion of like 1,000 desert suns. You know, it does. I respect it. It's something to see, man. Like it's like holy shit. It's not. You doesn't give it up.
Never.
Crazy.
We'll never give it up.
Yeah.
Well,
She's gonna send you
onto
a fucking glitter bomb or some bullshit.
Segueing onto someone who probably should give it up. Carlos Condit lost pretty bad to Cowboy Oliveira. What did you think, buddy?
What's my thing? You know, when Father Time taps you on the shoulder, you know, you better not look back, because all you're gonna see is the past. You know, I mean, there's nothing. I love Carlos, and I loved what he did for the sport. The hiatus was tough. The half in, half out was bad. Who really comes in and comes back from half in, half out with one caveat here, that can't do copious amounts of steroids to make up for the fact that they've been half training, you know, Brock Lesnar. You get me? I don't think Carlos is a dirty fighter, you know. Like, so the fuck is he gonna do?
Yeah, it was.
And then that division.
But I saw glimpses of like the old Carlos in there.
Oh yeah,
very small.
It doesn't all go. You know, he's still.
Yeah.
He was a natural born killer, and for the kids at home that, you know, don't either get the movie reference or don't understand that Carlos was one of those crazy bastards that was lying about his age back in the infant stages of modern MMA, right? Wasn't he like a 15-year-old beating the shit out of like full-grown men? He was one of those guys in the New Mexico, Arizona circuit, up there with Diego Sanchez. Same thing. Like a bunch of those guys back in the day, especially at the lighter weight classes, would fight up in weight. And if, you know, you could paste a couple of pubes on your chin, be like, yeah, I'm 18. Promoters wouldn't give a shit because they were snaky as fuck back then. And you had kids fighting grown men. The Diaz brothers did it too. I know Nate did. There's video footage of that. And he's been, how old is he now? What, like late 30s? Like 36?
Like, yeah,
37?
well, I would say that's late 30s. I'd say it's kind of mid 30s.
Oh, well, okay.
But he's got more
but
fights. He's got more fights than he's another one with more fights than his age.
Yeah, and that's just insane. At whatever age he's at now, I don't want to insult you, Tom. I didn't mean to go there. My apologies. But like, he's got 2 decades of fight experience at least under his belt. That's crazy.
Yeah, and not to take anything away from Cowboy. You know, Cowboy fought a great fight. He got the finish, but it's just like he got the finish off of a shell of what Condit used to do. I mean, this is the guy who he almost beat GSP too. He put GSP on his ass with that head kick. You remember that?
And people aren't gonna give. I feel like they're not gonna give him his due. I don't know why, but I just get the sense that his legacy is not going to age well. And I only judge that because some of the folks that I was watching this fight with were like, who the hell is Condit? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I know, you know, you got a mixed bag at different events. It is what it is, but I don't know why. Carlos just wasn't a champion in the division, you know, like an undisputed guy. He always had the specter of GSP.
The interim belt.
Yeah, so he had the specter of GSP hanging over his head, which is a heavy abacus for anybody to carry around. And, you know, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And once he took that hiatus, Tommy, I wanted him to come back and be vintage Carlos, you know, but vintage only works at Goodwill, brother. It really only does. And even then, it's hit or miss. Trust me, I shop there.
Not everybody can take the time. Not everybody can take the time off and start knocking people out like our buddy Ally Akinta did.
Or even your, again, like being a homer slightly, but like your boy GSP. You know, putting down a champ and then choking him out. Like, it just, it's so rare. People don't appreciate that, but you don't do that. MMA is not like riding a bike. All right? It's like riding a bike that's trying to bite your dick off the entire time. Like, you gotta ride that lightning.
Yeah, but do you think it's more or less of his coach's style kind of just not working in today's MMA anymore? I mean, the Greg Jackson camp was the camp of champions. It was like the Miletich fighting system, but like the Miletich fighting system, the game evolved, and not every fighter evolved with it.
I don't want to throw this out there lightly, Tommy, but you know where I'm going to go with this when you mention the Jackson camp. I mean, a lot of people have popped from that camp. I'm not saying Carlos was on that vibe, all right? But I think that there's a multi-headed hydra of issues at the Jackson camp. I think that a younger Condit that could pull the trigger the way he used to pull the trigger, even fighting out of Jackson's camp, would have eaten a fighter like Oliveira up. He would have been part of the win streak. He would have been another scalp on the mantelpiece. So I don't want to put the blame really as much as I really, even in their heyday, a lot of the Jackson camp I would get on their case because they were kind of boring. You know, so it's not as though, like, I respect Jackson for what he brings to the table and the winning mindset and whatnot, but I wasn't exactly a huge fan of the camp. So I'd love a chance to pile on. But in this case, I don't know. I feel like it's Carlos, the never say die attitude and the wars he's been in, finally catching up to him, I think. He was in some scraps, man.
The heart's there, but the rest of the body isn't.
It's not exactly. You know? And he strikes me as one of those guys that also, like, probably overtrained a little bit for a lot of his career. I could see that. Where, you know,
I don't know if
he's
he
such
overtrained.
a savage.
You know, these problems that he started having happened after he got that movement coach. I don't know if he still has the dude, but after he got that guy, everything just went on a complete downskid for him.
Are you going to blame Touchbutt,
you know what I mean?
then? You're blaming Touchbutt in the park?
I mean,
or
maybe.
Our boys problems. He did that one Joe Rogan interview, and then he started sucking, right? Where he talked about the movement guy. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh boy, poor guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, could it just be a coincidence? Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe age plus that, you know, but.
You know, and you know, Eddie Gordon said it best when he was on the show, the very first time we had him on the show. If you're doing that while you're in your camp and it's something new and that's not what got you to the dance to begin with, and you start losing, you got to look at that as a problem. That might be the problem.
Well, scientifically, and that's why I love Eddie Gordon so much, is because he brings that analytical mindset. Like, Eddie Gordon's a very smart individual. You know, very, very smart, calculating guy. You know, very, you know, he looks at angles, get it, with the pun, but he looks at all sorts of sides, and he works it back. It's like a science equation. If you have a bad outcome, look at what changes you've made. You know, what's not the same, you know? He's brilliant that way, but...
spoiler alert, Eddie Gordon returns to Pride Rules next week.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited, and I'm also excited for him to get that money. But I'll let him discuss the particulars. You know, if anybody could make that check stretch, it's him. He's a smart guy.
Fucking right.
Yeah.
There's the money for the sober house. We'll talk about that next week. Because we can go off on a tangent for that the entire show.
I'm excited.
So speaking of somebody who has just a world full of heart. Justin Gaethje dropped a tough one to Dustin Poirier last night, or Saturday night, and I mean, Poirier looked excellent. Here was my problem with the fight: the fucking eye pokes.
Yeah.
If the UFC does not adapt the Pride gloves, somebody's going to lose an eye accidentally. He wasn't doing it on purpose, but the second time he did it, I actually saw the blood flow out of Poirier's eye. You know what I mean?
It's getting to the. You're absolutely right, but we're gonna have somebody like a Bisping happen without the spinning back kick. It's gonna be straight up off of a finger to the eye. It's bad.
Yeah,
it's
like,
really,
I mean,
really getting.
It was
crazy.
bad. Those were some bad shots, and like I said, he was doing it by accident. I don't even think he was doing it for distance. I think he was doing it just to try and keep Poirier from fucking hitting him. You know, I know Justin Gaethje is who he is, and his fighting style is what he likes, but he's got about maybe another 3 years left in the sport the way he fights, if that. Don't you think?
I was talking to my coworker today who's big in MMA. You know, shout out to James, and we were talking about the same thing, man. Like I was generous, and I gave him maybe 4 years, but after that, he's gonna be a white Gary Goodrich for fuck's sake. You know, oh, no disrespect to Gary. Gary will sit across and say, "Hey, listen, you know, I sacrificed too much. Like, this is crazy, you know." And it seems as though Gaethje willingly wants to do this. And the thing that rubs me at the end of the day really the wrong way, you know where I'm gonna go with this, is it's not like he has to do this. The dude's got legitimate wrestling chops. All right? If somebody could get inside of his heart, as grand and as entertaining as that heart is, or that heart makes him as a fighter, and say, listen, you could be a fucking champion in the biggest organization in the world. Because I do believe he has the skills to do that. If he fought a good game plan, and with that heart to save him when the game plan goes sideways, then that's a different story. I think that's what a legacy on par with anybody at 155, that's what that's made of. But if you throw away, you know, all your weapons and you're like, hey, listen, I got this assault rifle, I got this sidearm, but you know what? Give me this baseball bat and we're going to make something happen. I can't get with that. As exciting as it is to watch, it also pains me, Tommy, because we both know he's taken years off his fucking life. It's horrible to see. It just is, man.
And I know. And, you know, and this isn't taking anything away from Poirier. He fought a terrific fight. You know, he stayed in there with the stuff with his eye. I mean, his combination, he looked excellent.
Poirier's making a campaign at 155, and I'll be the first one to say he surprised me a little bit.
And this is kind of what I want to ask you. They're thinking he's got a direct shot at Khabib now, because Khabib said he wants to fight in November, and this kind of lines up in November. Do you think Poirier gets the shot just because Dana's not going to make the Tony fight, at least not right now? Who knows what the fuck Colleen is doing? So
I think Alvarez gets that fight first.
With Poirier or
no, with Khabib. I do. As weird as it is, just because of the former championship shine, and the fact that I know you notice this, Eddie was kind of starting to slowly put out feelers on social media about it.
Yeah, but
right?
Then they asked him if he wanted to step in, and he said he was heavy.
Well, yeah, because he wasn't, you know, he could at least get more of a pass with the whole "I'm heavy, pay me more money" than Pettis could. Don't get me ranting on Pettis. I'll go all night again with fucking pay me more. I don't want to be a man about things.
I want to see Eddie get his shot too, but if they're going to do that, do you think they make him fight Dustin again?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. No, I think you get 2 shots out of the same gun, potentially. I'm not saying that Khabib would run through Eddie by any means. I think Eddie might be the guy that has the kryptonite, but it's a win-win. If Eddie wins, then you set up a crazy rematch with him and Poirier. And Poirier, if he plays his cards right, could tune up some social media craziness with like, hey, listen, you know what? I was beating you. I was on the way to whooping your ass, and you know you pulled some crazy business. You know, there's that storyline. If Eddie wins, if Eddie loses, then you at least have 2 fights that could do something to generate some sort of, you know, goodwill and maybe avoid, you know, war crime allegations from his shout out at the end of the fight on the pay-per-view. So I think you don't kill that by having Poirier and Eddie fight, you know, yet. Or who knows? They might do it just because there's some quick pop now, and they're all about quick pop. Who the fuck knows, man? Yeah.
Well, maybe it would be their way of seeing who gets the fair shot against Khabib too. Is
Khabib injured though? Like I feel like Khabib's a guy you should trot out. So then keep trotting him out, man. He talked a lot of shit about not defending the belt, and however rightfully so. I won't, you know, I'm not that much of a Conor apologist to say that wasn't egregious, but you have a crazy problem with Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's a badass, but now there's an enigma around him, being like, hey, maybe somebody's got the kryptonite. That could even work to get him more of a following. Because if he comes back and really locks somebody down and goes nuts, an opponent that he knows about in advance, right? Because you can't take away. I love Al, but like there was a lot of crazy juggling and stuff in terms of opponents. You know, maybe Al does a better job with a full camp. Maybe Khabib does a better job with a full camp. But regardless, Khabib's the type of guy you have him fight as much as he can now, as much as he's physically able to, with that belt, and trying to get over that recognition hump, and then you blow your crazy load in a Moscow fight, hopefully with somebody big.
He said he's ready for November. That's when he wants to fight. So
yikes, man! I feel like that's far away. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
It's a while.
Not really. I mean, we're already midway through April.
That shows tax season.
So,
you're right.
We're already midway through April, so November's not that much. Give the guy, because I mean,
he does 2-month camps. He does 12-week camps. He does long
he
camps.
has fought a decent amount in these past few months that he's fought his whole career with the UFC. If you think about it.
True. I want to see him. You see where I'm going with it, though? I feel as though
for sure.
I want to just see him fight often to see if we could have a conversation with a third person that's not balls deep in MMA and be like, oh, that Khabib guy's nuts. Just for the recognition. Just for the mainstream push. You know? It'd be good.
Yeah, it's just, I guess they're kind of in a little bit of a quagmire as to who they're going to put him out there. But
it's weird.
Because
Tony's out for a bit, too. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Not that not that the fight wouldn't even get made. I wanted to say that real quick. Like, you showed me the photo.
That was gnarly.
Oh, boy.
That was gnarly. That's from tripping on wires off a stage.
How crazy is that? Yeah. You got to start asking yourself, like, did you punch a gypsy in the mouth or something? Like, Tony, I'm sorry, brother. All right? But you need to get a Mexican witch doctor to take off whatever curse you got.
Well, no, one of my teammates put it best when it happened. He goes, that's what happens when you're kicking fucking steel poles and then trip and fall off a stage.
Oh, Jesus Christ. See? I was never a fan of that shit. I did it once as a kid, and my coach was like, you're stupid, stop. So, what are you doing?
And coming from my buddy that said it, Golden Gloves and Diamond Gloves champion of New Jersey, I'll listen to him.
We'll defer to his expert judgment. It's not Johnny Gumbach that's just saying, hey, I knew a couple things. No, this guy's a champ, and he's saying that's not the thing to do to prepare.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's another one with who had a knee injury, so he understands. I mean, I understand better than anybody.
I would say that, yeah. There's some knowledge there, some deep.
Actually, got an appointment with a UFC doctor tomorrow.
Look at you. Well, we're gonna get Bionic Man, and you're gonna make your long-awaited debut. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I just want the pain to stop.
Oh, Jesus Christ! It's not 2-minute warning after dark, man. We're not going that route, all right? Because that's usually the precursor to some bad porn. Please don't drop that on me ever again.
Speaking of one of our co-hosts, Chris Gucci.
Oh boy! I just want the pain to stop. Here's $50. No, sorry. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he's making $50 the hard way.
Oh God.
Oh my God. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't mind seeing the Poirier fight just because he's got a lot of steam behind him. He's been doing really good in that lightweight division. So if they make that fight, I'm not going to be mad at it. If they make the Eddie fight, I'm not going to be mad at it. I don't hate Poirier, but I'm an Eddie Alvarez fan.
Oh, I think it's a tremendous fight either way. I just think we could get maybe potentially 2 great fights out of it. As opposed to one and then Khabib fades into obscurity. It's really crazy. Every month that he's not fighting, people forget about him again. Right? even more so than other fighters. You know, I don't want to bring up your favorite guy, but you know that it's a thing. He's afflicted with some sort of charisma penalty. You know, I don't get it. I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, buddy, this week's hashtag Fight Me segment is about the modified rules for Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Now, here's the hashtag Fight Me part, and this is for all you people who disagree. Go on our social media. Let us know how you feel about it. Here are my thoughts on the modified rules for Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. I think it is a joke. I think it's disrespectful to the sport, and it's disrespectful to every fighter that is on the UFC roster. That is not fair. Conor went over to boxing, and he abided by Floyd's rules, by the boxing rules, Floyd's weight, everything that Floyd wanted. You don't get to come over into mixed martial arts to modify the rules to fit you, to make it easier for you. This is mixed martial arts. It's takedowns. It's kicks. It's wrestling. You're telling everybody that your wrestling is a 7. So why wouldn't you want that? You want modified rules. I think it's bogus. I think it's bullshit. And honestly, I think that anybody who enjoys the fact that Floyd wants to do this is kind of stupid. So, debate me, fight me, call in if you want.
Oh, I'm back on. I think we're having some technical difficulties. I left a message and I called him back. So, you know, please, sir, if you're listening and you can give us a call, you know, our number as always is the 917-889-2676. You know, I recognize your number. I'll pick up. I'm watching the switchboards. Please call Ticketron. All right, get your tickets for Madison Square Garden and talking to us live. 917-889-2676. So, that being said, we have a caller. So let's see who we got. Somebody. Hopefully it's him. Hold on one second. Caller, you're on the air.
It's definitely not him. It's a her. Hello.
Oh!
It's Trisha.
Oh, Trisha. What's up,
Hi. Hi. I just wanted to call to Tommy, or is it tag teaming with him, but set a comment on the whole
Whoa, I'm not
thing.
copping to that, Trish. I don't hey, well, he does on his own time. It's a mystery to me.
Tag team off the ropes.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Oh, boy. Okay. Sorry.
I'm just as flabbergasted as Tommy is about the whole thing. And it just seems like they're bringing boxing into the octagon, which is just boxing. So, like, this is just a question for Tommy. Do you feel like there's any, like, ulterior motive, like, from a business level for, like, Dana to do this? Because it just seems like a repeat, just, like, in a different place with lighter gloves.
Well, what it is Floyd not wanting to be embarrassed on pay-per-view television in a sport that up until a few years ago, all he did was bash. And Floyd likes to make his own rules. Just like when Conor went to box him. Conor had to go to a weight that Floyd wanted to go to. Conor hasn't fought at anything under 155 pounds in, what, Omar, 2-3 years?
It's been a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It had been a bit.
So everybody has to cater to Floyd because he's Floyd. And he's the biggest egomaniac out there. So of course he doesn't want to come into the octagon and get embarrassed. But if you're going to make these modified rules, why did you come out and say that your wrestling is a 7? But you don't want to show the world that your wrestling is a 7. And just like you said, yeah, it's basically boxing in the cage, which I would be fine with if it wasn't in the UFC. If this was in Japan, that's fine. They make their own rules up as they go. But the UFC has never catered to any kind of rule set. James Toney didn't get a rule set changed when he came over. And he got wrestled to death. Remember that, Omar?
I think James Toney will never forget having that crazy old white dude beat the shit out of him with the fucked up ears. Like, that's
but
something.
I give him more credit. I
think he practiced low kicks more than I think Floyd ever will. Right? We saw that 2 low kicks in the promo package. I think the first low kicks that James Toney ever threw were in the 15 minutes before the fight. But hey, it is what it is.
Well, if this has never been done, then I totally see why Tommy is 100% like against this whole thing, because that's just, it's like saying like, because you guys know I love the NBA. It's like putting a Globetrotter game in the middle of the playoffs and saying like it does count towards like a 7-game series. It doesn't seem quite right. But,
you mean the first round of the playoffs isn't Globetrotter games, basically? You're not. Come on.
No, it isn't, believe it or not. But
bring it back down to 3 games.
Weird.
Make it best of 3, Trish. Not even best of 5. Stop it.
I'd rather
bring
watch
it back
a Globetrotter game at the halftime of a Knicks game, because I think that would be more interesting.
You shut your whore mouth, Tommy. Don't bring my beloved Knicks into this. All right, I got shit on enough. Free Porzingis, free Kristaps, stem cells for his knee.
But yeah, Trisha, here's my biggest issue with this. When we've had Diana on, the one thing that she always talks about is the modified rules for amateur fighting. There's no head kicks allowed. There's no strikes to the face on the ground allowed. You can't do the ground and pound. So these guys have fought through the amateurs, through those bogus rules, to come now to the pros where, the rules are, the basic stuff, no headbutts, no eye gouges, no kicks to the balls, stuff like that. So it's kind of it's a slap in the face to the fighters who have worked their way up, and it's a slap in the face to the fans, honestly.
Right,
It's really a slap in the face. Because if you think Floyd runs in a ring with boxing, he's going to do it more now in the cage.
Track star.
Yeah. He's really going to be a track star, because if there's a clinch allowed and Conor gets him in a clinch, he's just going to uppercut him to death.
UFC's got to pay rent, guys. All right? I just want to remind you. I hate to be, the dickhead who reminds people about responsibilities and stuff over in the corner here. All right? I'm far from that. Okay? In my personal life, I'm a little reckless. Here, though, I feel like they got billions of dollars they got to cover. It'd be ridiculous not to make this fight. Absolutely.
Right.
Oh,
I can see from a business perspective, but, like, isn't there, like, something else? Even when you go up and do karate and stuff like that, there's, like, exhibitions. Like, can you just make it an exhibition? Like, does it have to be, like, part of the actual, like, a real thing? Can it just be, like, considered, like, a special event?
Well, it would be considered an exhibition because those rules aren't adhered to any commission. Right, Omar?
Okay,
that doesn't really count.
Yeah, it's going to be some weird pseudo animal. I'd be surprised if they have it. I mean, they probably will have it in Vegas just because that's where the money's going to be. And Floyd, that's his home base. But it'd be one of those things that maybe you could even look at having internationally or on some cruise ship in international waters where you could get away with a lot more. That's where I'd have
it. Okay,
so
if it is an exhibition, then come on.
If they're going to do that, then don't have it as a UFC event. Have it on Showtime.
No.
Have it on Showtime.
UFC's got the bigger rent checks. Showtime's got enough money. Stop it. Right? UFC's hurting for cash. I want them to keep the doors open. All right?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Shit. Come on.
It's just,
right.
I still think they can make money not doing something stupid like that. Either that or say, Floyd, look, we had to play by your rules. Now you're coming into our yard. You play by our rules. Get with it or get lost.
Right. Well, like Omar said, it's all about bringing in the money. Like, they know, like, Floyd's brand is just going to bring in
it's going to bring
so
the dollars
money.
in. Yes.
And so you kind of got to bend to him a little bit, because that's all this is. It's like a fundraiser, except like, somebody could potentially get seriously hurt. you know. But like to put that on the line, not only his brand but like his legacy, it's you gotta keep bending, you know, until it's like a folded over piece of paper. Like you just have to make it whatever he wants, and that's like kudos to if you're that strong, or your business or your brand is that strong that a whole sport gotta change just so that you can like help them get more money. Then you know you do what you gotta do. But I do get where you're coming from, Tommy, and I want to think about ways where it's not just a complete like win to Floyd. I think there is possibility that he would lose in this situation. Like, despite the fact that they stripped it down a lot, it's still a fight, and it's different than boxing. It's sort of like when you do like a kumite in karate, but like you get a fight on the train, like it's different, right? So like boxing has like strict rules that like he's been adhering to for like all of his life, and now it's not. It's a really like a bar fight of some sort, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect, but like, you know, it's like a fight.
Is it human cockfighting? Would you say it's human cockfighting, Trisha? Going that way? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well,
honestly,
to me, it's all it is a boxing match with 4-ounce gloves.
Right.
If they allow the clinch, it's not, though. If they allow the clinch, that's the one big difference. If they allow you to at least punch from the clinch and the ref can't stop it, that's a horse of a different color. As much as that'd be the only allowance, and no shoes. Everybody here knows there's a bit of a difference with how you can push off.
So, but Omar, what you're saying is if they allow the clinch, it's a different story, which means Floyd would run more. So you probably won't see that clinch. That's what I mean. I think it would be the counter-punching fight that we thought the boxing match was going to be, where Floyd was just going to run.
And Floyd's going to break his hands in 4-ounce gloves.
Well, but Floyd's not going to sit there. And also, Floyd's not going to sit there and let Conor jab himself out, because it's only going to be at most, 5 rounds if they do that. He's not going to let him jab him to death, because we've seen what happens.
5-minute rounds. That's a difference too. There's a couple nuances here and there. Is this a farce? Absolutely, I agree with both of you there. Okay, it's a complete ridiculous farce. However, you know what? Like that TV deal. Yeah, it's nice. That rumored TV deal is great, and there's going to be, I hate to say this, probably the first time I'm ever going to say it, but $300 million is not a lot of money. Not for me, not for you, not for Trish, but holy smokes, it's not what they were hoping for when they invested $4.2 billion. They were hoping that it'd be at least $550 to maybe twice that, to $600. They need this stuff. You'll see. You're going to see some wild business like this.
That's what the 6 pay-per-views a year will probably generate them a lot of money, because those 6 pay-per-views are going to be big like it used to be. You know what I mean? It's going to be big like it used to be. But my whole thing with the rules, it kind of makes Floyd look a little bit like a bitch. Like that friend that invites you over to play a video game that you've never played before, but they don't tell you the buttons so they can kick the shit out of you. That's kind of what this reminds me of.
Well, I mean, a bitch can go either way, because I feel like he's making, Dana and the UFC his bitch by like saying like I'm gonna do your sport, but I'm gonna make it my own sport.
Oh,
like you're gonna do whatever I say.
Dana got soft when he got that $500 million. Dana got soft. But I mean, the Fertitta brothers were running everything before it.
Yo, give me $500 million and I'll become tissue paper, son. Like, you give me $500 million, you can call me whatever you want. If you give me $500 million, like, I'm okay. He's soft as fuck. You know what? Who knows? Maybe he's trying to get into boxing himself. Him and the Fertittas are trying to, rape the sport and leave town. And then they're going to take Floyd with them.
Yeah, because they didn't care. They didn't care about losing money. They never wanted to make a fighter bigger than the organization. That's why they pulled Conor off that UFC 200 card when he was barking about money. Okay, we'll pull you off the card, and we'll just bring somebody else in who makes money. Enter Brock Lesnar. That's what they did.
Good luck
That's
with
why,
that, you know. Entering Brock Lesnar. He's a fucking animal.
It worked for UFC 200. It worked. It wasn't what it was supposed to be.
How is that not a bigger farce than this mixed rules match? How you want to tell me that? Let's. I'm not letting you off the hook. Getting Brock. Getting Brock to fight and getting an exemption in 6 months with a dude who can piss hot standing 10 feet away from the test cup. For fuck's sake. You can't say it. Come on, man. Everybody knew what the hell was going on, you know? He's coming in looking like a Magilla gorilla. Fucking all crazy, right?
Hey, he only pops for clomiphene.
Oh, yeah, because that's the only thing he's probably having, like, alien steroids. He's been big to the point where I could see, like, scientists being like, let's try some shit out with him. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to, like, the top of Mount Machu Picchu and you're bringing down the ayahuasca tainted with some steroids that we ain't ever seen yet. It's like, have you seen that man? And how he moves? It ain't natural. Fuck out of here.
No, it's
and that
not.
Wasn't a farce? That wasn't a farce?
But to my point is, it worked.
See where I'm going with this, Trisha? Because who does he call a farce? See what I'm saying?
I see.
Yeah, but Brock didn't need any modified rules to fight, though.
Yeah, he did. He needed modified testing rules. He needed a complete exemption out of...
Well, yeah, but USADA didn't have to adhere to that. USADA adhered to the fine.
Which is more corrupt, if anything.
But to me, that's shocking, considering that Chad Mendes is still suspended for psoriasis cream.
Chad Mendes makes nobody any money. All right, he doesn't make psoriasis companies money when he buys them. He buys their psoriasis cream. I love him as a fighter. All right.
Well, not now that he popped hot for it.
But of course, but like he's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, maybe he does tea tree oil for his psoriasis scalp now. You know, I hear it's very, very good. You know, the homeopathic remedy, allegedly. But like, what are you doing, man? It's based on stars and based on who's going to make them the most cash. The fact that we're even potentially having this conversation with Conor having assaulted that bus tells me where the UFC's head's at. All right, they're going to take shoes off, put shoes on, make them run around a circle, with a baseball bat on their head and get all dizzy before they fight. Then they're going to have a chess match in the middle. Then they're going to have to draw a picture. Like, it's just for cash, guys. Like, that's all it is. Sport.
Yeah.
It's getting sad, though. It's getting sad.
It is getting sad. Or let's see. I could potentially see it getting sad, just like Tommy is worried, because when you start to lose focus, you start to just make the product anything that could just bring money in the door, then it sort of becomes, some kind of haphazard kind of sport and execution. So I can see where Tommy's coming from with this, with his concern about this. But I'll leave you guys alone. I just wanted to pick Tommy's brain for a second. So I'll drop off. It was fun. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Trish. Always a pleasure.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, dude, you know what I'm afraid of? They're going to go the way of pride. Like, after a while, people stopped liking that freak show stuff. And that's what I'm afraid the UFC is going to start doing, this freak show shit too much. And people aren't going to give a shit anymore. You know what I mean?
We've reached peak CM Punk. Right, you know how economists talk about peak oil, and then we'll look back on the days of before then it was still on the rise, and then after that we never produced quite enough, and it changed the geopolitical landscape forever. I think we've hit that point where something changed in the fabric of the sport. But I wanted to get this in before Trish left, but I said, hey, if they drive it into the ground, maybe 360 can pick it up. We can all chip in a couple dollars and we can buy it on the cheap and then resurrect it, as a 360 fight league, and put it in the pit that fucking Boss Rutan has got that karate combat fighting in. All right, I want to see some.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that. I'm excited to watch that.
I'm super excited to watch it, man.
And here's the best
I think
part.
It's going to be
free.
tremendous. Yes, right. Like shit. Got a good ad blocker on there, so you don't have to see anything that they're trying to do. Because you know, a website like karate.com is going to have drive-by downloads going on in the background. It's going to be trying to install all sorts of shit on your stuff while you're watching that video. But get yourself a good little ad blocker, put it on some Firefox, and you'll be watching free karate. And the rule set seems genuinely lent to people just getting knocked the ever-loving fuck out. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
He was losing me with the long hook and the short hook, but
I don't understand what that was about. And you know what, though? It's funny because you could hear on the air that Boss was like, and what I love about Joe Rogan is that Joe wasn't even letting Boss off the hook on that one. He was going, hey, that's dumb. That's crazy. We can't have short hooks, long hooks. A hook's a hook's a hook.
But
right?
I mean,
no, we're not.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to get Steve Walker on the phone. Tyler said him or his manager's not answering him either. So we can have the time to talk about this. So the UFC deal, the TV deal.
Yes, let's unpack that.
When there's smoke, there's fire. Something that is as detailed as that deal was, it's definitely looks like it's going to happen. I think it's great.
For my money, you broke it to me, and then the next day, people were backing you up. And I'm not blowing smoke. Like you gave me the details, and then I saw on Twitter the next day that it was breaking left and right. So you got some good inside baseball there, man. I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I think it's cool that they're going to be splitting it between NBC and ESPN. Here's my only, I don't want to say concern, but they're going to put the Contender on television, which, I mean, that's fine. As bad as the ratings have been for The Ultimate Fighter, I don't think that's something that they should stray away from, man. The Contender, it's a good series, but I don't know, man. Like, somebody's just one person's getting a contract. It's only a series for the summer. I know the UFC has a big enough roster as it is. On ESPN, The Ultimate Fighter might be good on there. Or, since you have Fight Pass, make The Ultimate Fighter strictly for Fight Pass. You're doing these events that are just going to be on split between NBC, ESPN, and 6 pay-per-views a year. Why are people going to pay $10 a month for a fight library that, I don't want to be a dick and say this, but you could just go on the internet, go on Daily Motion and Bloody Elbow and find all those fights anyway. But it's on there for Invicta and EBI, and that's cool. But you're essentially paying $10 a month for old UFC stuff, and for the niche audience that wants to watch EBIs or some Russian organization that people have never heard of, you really going to expect people to pay $10 a month for that? What do you think?
It needs to follow the concerning thing for me is that I feel like this is a scattershot approach, and it's too much of a nod towards old school media and not enough of a nod towards where media is headed. Because I feel as though that $10 a month, we all willingly pay Netflix for that, right? And there's some months where Netflix has some losers there, and then at that point I just rewatch The West Wing or The Office, right? We all have our great shows that we put in the can when in between Netflix originals or in between new movie drops. Different months are get different star ratings from me in terms of fresh content. But that's $10 a month I have no problem paying, and I'll pay for it long after I get rid of cable, right? But I feel as though NBC and ESPN still have one foot in old media, and they want to jump towards that new media, especially ESPN, because its service is going streaming. They're hurting, right? And necessity is sometimes the mother of innovation. So you have they're going on a streaming service. Disney is making huge moves. They acquired Fox in order to bolster a library because they want to come at Netflix with 2 barrels. They're going to start taking stuff off of Netflix. that's part of that umbrella of companies, that media content that they now own, and they're going to make a run. They're seeing Netflix is doing great things. You know, I today was their earnings day. I haven't checked how they did, but I assume it went well, because if it had gone poorly, I think I would have heard. So I think they did okay. They're just having tremendous success. But I think you need to have a better consolidated focus and strategy if you're going to be doing things. At this point, though, I think the UFC was going to take money from whoever the fuck was going to offer. Probably Fox was like, listen, we've come to the end of the road, and said we're done, we're good. But I feel as though you want to have that digital looking mindset, that streaming mindset. So keep all this content, keep Fight Pass, but make it what we consider Netflix for, right? If you're into fighting and you're into everything that's all about old fights, then we're in heaven. You know, you and I could easily kill an afternoon or a weekend if given left to our own devices, looking at old fights, right? Hell, we could probably make a fucking sideshow out of it where we just, kick back a few brews and look at Don Fry beating the shit out of Japanese people in Pride, and we'd probably end up crying laughing. I know I would. Watching Fry Takayama with you in the background sounds like a pretty good afternoon. No, all things considered, right? That shit's crazy. But
yeah, no, I think Fight Pass is great, but like I said, if you're not going to have fresh content on it, besides these other organizations that are signed to it, fresh UFC content,
they got to release. They got to release on both. They have to release on both, but I don't think the deal would ever let them do that, because then why the fuck would ESPN or NBC have shelled out the big bucks? But you have to have them on both.
That's why I think they should continue with the Ultimate Fighter series and do the Ultimate Fighter on Fight Pass. Here's one of the reasons why. You don't have to bleep out the curses. You don't have to bleep that stuff out if you don't really want to. You might generate more buys for the app if the Ultimate Fighter is just going to be on there. If you're going to have the Contender, let's say, on ESPN, or if they're going to have it on NBC. You need to keep fresh content going onto that. Not everybody watches Invicta. You know what I mean? It's a niche market. Not everybody watches Invicta.
And another thing too, on top of all this, you know what this reminds me of? Like, you and I are both, have dabbled in the less savory realms of acquiring content on the internet. But what's one of the biggest, easiest things that we both love, like a Netflix for, is the ease of use, right?
Absolutely. And binge watching.
Binge watching, exactly. So, like, say you have a show I'm into now, right? For example, The Magicians. Season 3 is on I believe on Sci-Fi, right? That's the channel that it's on conventional TV, right? I could technically watch, and I did try to watch a couple of those episodes for the new season that came out as it was coming out, right? I gave up. And I said, fuck it, I'll wait till it's out on Netflix and a full third season. Because between the ads at the beginning, the ads in the middle, between the weird random shit that the video player wanted to do on Sci-Fi's website, I just could not get through it. There was times when it would agree with one browser, when it wouldn't agree with another. So here's my fear, is that if we're now depending on that fresh content, like you said, being delivered off of NBC and ESPN's mobile offerings eventually, because you got to figure that once they air it on their show, on their channels, right, the cable TV channels, they'll have some sort of catalog to stream on the back end. What's that going to look like? I haven't messed around with ESPN's app, and maybe other people can educate me on this, but I have no faith in conventional TV channels producing as seamless of a streaming experience as the gorilla in the room, which is Netflix. Or Amazon. I mean, Amazon gets it right, too. You have to wade through a couple of hey, maybe I should buy this. Algorithm-tailored shopping. But I don't know, man. That fresh content's gonna be wasted. If Fight Pass is pretty seamless, they ironed out some kinks, you got to have the fresh content on there as well, I think. And I don't trust NBC and I don't trust ESPN to do it right. I don't.
No. And to me, the one great thing about this new deal, which I touched on a little bit with Trisha, but just 6 pay-per-views a year, they're going to be big. Nobody's going to roll their eyes at this pay-per-view.
That's exciting. That's the biggest thing I'm excited for on this, even more so than getting on ESPN. And people call me crazy, but I feel like ESPN's still an unknown quantity, streaming-wise. It still truly is, in my opinion. So these 6 pay-per-views, I'm super hyped for them, bro. I am very, very excited for those things. As long as everybody gets to fight everybody, because you made me a little nervous with the NBC, does everybody get to come together for the pay-per-views and break bread and break bones here? Or is it still like one stable of fighters and another stable of fighters and this, that, and the third? Maybe we don't know.
I think NBC and ESPN, I think they're like the same company, aren't they?
Well, hold on. No, NBC and ESPN, no.
Aren't they owned by the same?
No,
same
ABC.
Shit?
ABC and ESPN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I said, which was pretty crazy. I think, man, I might be completely off, but for my money, Disney owns ABC as well as ESPN and now Fox. And they're probably gonna own my car tomorrow. I don't know. Disney doesn't fuck around. Well, we'd have to do. But so, what do you think, man?
I think that the UFCs are going to be with their, I don't think it's going to matter with who, if it's going to be NBC and all that other shit. But
gotcha.
I think
they're owned by Comcast, by the way. NBC is owned by Comcast.
Oh. No,
yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and then ABC is owned by good old Walt Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's why I think it's great with just the 6 pay-per-views. You're going to see more people want to pay for a big pay-per-view now as opposed to what we have had. Like, when we talked about Chael Sonnen's fight with Rampage probably had over 1 million views, and at the same time, Stipe was fighting Francis Ngannou, and I'm sure they didn't come close to 1 million views. So you're going to have people wanting to buy these pay-per-views more. Don't you think?
I hope. You know what? I hope so. I remember the days. I don't know why it sticks out in my mind, but I know why. It was a tremendous fucking fight. But remember, like BJ Penn versus Jens Pulver, and the lead up to that fight.
Oh my God!
And
that
right?
was because of the Ultimate Fighter. That was because of the Ultimate Fighter. They were fighting. They were arguing with each other on the show, so they built it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So
they built it.
But also the time in between pay-per-views. I'm talking about even way back in the day, way back, like when fucking Matt Hughes was fighting BJ Say. Remember that back in the day, like the first, and there was at least a good solid 2, if not 3 month span in between events, and you had, you might not have had as many legends and as many weight classes and whatnot back then, but holy shit, everybody that they could muster that could draw some seats was fighting on every pay-per-view card. The best of the absolute best. Yep. Right? And you had to claw your way to get onto those pay-per-views. Otherwise, you were fighting on these other sub-organizations to pay the bills. Right? Or you had other part-time jobs. So that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
Those pay-per-views were crazy, Tommy. I'm excited for that. If everybody can fight everybody else.
But here's what's great about that. Guys like Stipe and Demetrius Johnson probably get paid more now because you're going to have more people buying the pay-per-views. So this might be the way that these guys get paid. Because with the 500-plus fighter roster, to balance it out between NBC and ESPN to have, other fights on there, and, you're not going to say, well, you need the star power on this card. Well, no, you really don't. You don't.
You just need content. You need exciting content.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. And, you know, like the $320 million, yeah, it sounds kind of low considering what the UFC was bought for, but their Fox deal was only $100 million.
The Fox deal was
That's
only
all
100.
Fox
So
deal
yeah,
was.
they were making money, but I do know at the beginning, at the outset, maybe it was just, you know, people being overly optimistic, but they were hoping for a little more. What I'm starting to think now, you kind of jogged my mind a little bit. What I am excited about those two companies getting into bed with the UFC about separately and on conventional outlets, NBC as well as ESPN, they know how to promote.
Mm-hmm.
At least from just
dude, think about how many commercials you're going to see now, which is let's be honest here, which is what they should have been doing now to begin with. WME owns the fucking UFC.
That's just crazy.
What's their job? What is
they're
their
fucking
job?
agents.
They're in TV.
They're fucking Hollywood
they're in
agents.
Movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like come on, man. That's a lot of lost synergy. Something happened there, and the ball was muffed.
Yeah, they should have been buying airtime, like fucking Eddie Murphy buys transvestite hookers, for Christ's sake.
Oh, Jesus Christ. When you said Eddie Murphy, I'm like, oh, he's going, yep. He's going for the tranny joke. Good Lord.
Because you know what? You used to see the UFC commercials all the time before.
Yeah.
You know what I found amazing?
It was good.
I was driving down Route 9 the other day, and you know how all these billboards now are pretty much all digital? I saw a digital billboard for Frankie Edgar versus Cub Swanson.
Oh, shit. That's pretty crazy.
I haven't seen a UFC billboard in years here on the East Coast.
It's a sad thing,
dude. You know, it's obvious the UFC's paying for that.
And
somebody has paid to do that. I don't think Frankie did it.
I feel, I mean, who knows, man? Frankie's a smart guy, but that's a lot of money, and he shouldn't have to pay that. Is more of the issue. But I think if this is handled the right way, it could be pretty exciting. It's a good change. I just at this point, it's what's crazy to me, Tommy, is that I'd like a change, period. Just to give it a shot, because whatever they're fucking doing now, Tom, like it's not exactly making every pushing the sport forward like gangbusters, like we were hoping that acquisition was going to do.
This deal is going to push it forward a lot, because now they're going to talk. Now they might actually add more weight classes.
That's
with this deal.
That's fucking.
Of course, it's phenomenal, because now you can have fights every other week. You know what I mean? You can, as somebody would say, oversaturate the product. You're not really oversaturating it, because now you're going to have more fighters, more belts. You're going to have less pullouts. You're going to have less weight cutting issues.
And more exciting fights, too.
Yes. And this is everything that us, as the real MMA fan, not the casual, and I'm not bashing on the casuals, but this is what we've wanted. This is what the fighters have wanted. If the UFC does this, Bellator and Pro Fight League, even though our buddy Eddie's coming on next week, are going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
They're going to be, because Bellator are going to be able to compete with that.
Or maybe not, man. Maybe they're not going to be in trouble. You know what? Holy shit. Maybe it'll just be, there's going to be so much money in the UFC, they'll be able to pay all the good fighters some good wages. We'll finally get over the hump. We'll get into the fucking Olympics. Like, that's what always in the back of my head is these home run shots that I want to see our beloved sport fucking get, man.
I want to see competition, honestly. That's what I want to see. I want to see head-to-head Bellator UFC competition, because now you're talking about TV ratings. That's what they're going to be focusing on, which when WME bought them out, this is what they talked about early on. More television, less pay-per-view. So when you're talking about TV ratings, that's what's key. And I hate to keep bringing it back to wrestling, but I have to. That's what the Monday Night Wars was all about. TV ratings. WCW didn't give a shit about pay-per-views. They cared about that Nielsen rating every week. They wanted to have more viewers than wrestling or than WWE. You know what I mean? 4.6 million people watching, 4.8 million people watching, 6 million people watching. That's what they cared about. So I want to see that competition between the UFC and Bellator. Bellator is a good product. It's definitely a good product. And if this deal lights a fire under Scott Coker and Viacom's ass, ooh, baby. I think it could be something amazing. We got a caller.
We've got another caller. Caller, you're on.
I'm the caller.
That's who I thought it was.
It is officially 2-minute warning after dark. It is time for the Kareem 15. What's up, Kareem?
Not much. Just calling before I have my ridiculously late garbage Wendy's dinner for no reason. Just touch on a couple of things.
Well, usually
First,
when you're blowing coke, Wendy's isn't the first thing that comes to your mind. So.
Oh man, come on, legend.
Listen,
Jesus.
Whatever flashbacks from whatever gas fumes you're inhaling when you're out at work, you got to get a hold of yourself.
Oh my God,
like, I'm sure there's PPE that is meant for you to wear over your face when you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with.
Personal protective equipment. Jesus Christ.
Yes, I did.
So what's up, man? What do you got on the docket for us tonight?
First, I want to give a huge shout out, whether you'll ever hear it or not, to the young king Nicky Ryan, who of course beat Gio Martinez by unanimous decision on points for the judges at Kasai Pro, and had him locked up in a reverse triangle and was threatening with a Kimura at the same time. So if this was sub only with no time limit in the second half, Gio was getting finished. He was very game, but he was getting finished. And that's a big up. Now Nicky's he's fully on the main stage. I also would like to send my condolences to Eddie Bravo and the rest of his 10th Planet soldiers for firing off the shots of war in a fight that they never had a chance of winning. But kudos for the bravery.
They came to a gun show with a knife, man. Right? Like what?
That's exactly what they did.
It seems like they did, and they were the ones talking the most shit, which is crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't anything super disrespectful or hate between the teams, but Eddie very much. Yeah, he looked at the Donahue's Death Squad as that's the pinnacle of competitive grappling in the world right now. That's the team to beat. And instead of buying this time, maybe watching some things and taking more time to instill in the squad under him, the base, not even the basics, but some real planning, some real methods about how to beat Donahue's guys at their system, which is not as limited to leg attacks as a lot of people would like to think. He declared war, and the team's been game this far. I think, Nicky coming out, putting the stamp on Gio is, I don't want to say that's the end of that, but 10th Planet's not going to be back at their heels for a while.
Well,
they're not going to be looking to pick it.
Look at it from Eddie's perspective. He makes the Eddie Bravo Invitational. He has his guys in there. This is a way for him to showcase his guys. And here comes East Coast Donahue's Death Squad owning EBI tournaments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How would you feel as an instructor? Damn, I created this event to showcase my guys as well as other people, and my guys can't beat these boys from the East Coast. And this has really nothing to do with age, but it kind of does. Nicky Ryan's what, 16?
Nicky Ryan, he's 16. I don't remember how old Gio is, but
he's a grown-ass fucking man.
16.
That's what he is.
Nicky Ryan is 16 and cut
that
weight.
beard doesn't let him look younger, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. Makes him old.
That is a grown man getting worked by a 16-year-old, and that's what's
Plus
scary.
He's Mexican. He could be lying about his age. Like, let's be honest.
Nikki is the future of the Danaher Death Squad. So just think about the younger ones that are going to be coming in with him.
It's
as long as the Lord and Savior keeps Danaher on the earth, brother. The jiu-jitsu game is just—they're going to change it from EBI to Danaher Invitational. That's what they're going to change.
And also, a big shout. Anyone in the grappling world, everybody be on the lookout. The unthinkable is happening. Danaher is releasing an instructional on his leg lock and back attack system. It's going to be dropping very soon.
Oh, Jesus.
Definitely go pick that up. Like if you've even stubbed your toe on a mat, pick it up.
I want to know how long this video is going to be because he has specific explanations for every single movement just in one move.
Yeah, my guess would be we're going to see like a DVD that's maybe an hour and some change that's like giving you the basic intro into the system, and then we're going to see like this is going to be the start of what I would think would be a series. Like a series of videos of instructional where he's like, all right.
You know what would be great, Kareem? And I'm sorry to cut you off, but a thought just came to me. When you said a series of instructionals, and Tommy, chime in too. What if we put an afro on Danaher's head, right? Now, feel me out here. You know where you go. You guys both know where I'm going. You put a giant afro on my man's head, right? And then he does like a Bob Ross, like series of like every day is a good day when you do jiu-jitsu. And then he fucking rips people's legs off and shit, right? No, but couldn't that become like a cult hit? Your thoughts?
That would be insane.
This is
my eyes would never be the same
happy
after
knee
that.
Bar.
Yeah, look at all these happy clouds.
It makes you happy when you pull off the submission. Your opponent's not so happy.
You tuck your opponent in to the bed of death, and you put him to sleep.
But I mean, just listening to him explain Gordon Ryan's. Who was he fighting? Was he fighting Cyborg? In that?
No, it was No, it was the guy that got him in the armbar.
Craig Jones.
I think it was, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. When he's
sitting there,
was it Jones?
No, who's now training
Jones?
with him?
I could have sworn it was Cyborg.
Yes.
No, I know what you're talking about. It's the one where even Gordon himself said like that guy came like the closest thing to putting him in danger he's been in a long time in competitive grappling.
But just listening to him break down every single movement that Gordon Ryan was doing to Joe Rogan, I think Joe was too high even to understand it. So for an instructional DVD to be put up by Danaher, man, you're going to have to watch that thing like 500 times just to fully understand what the hell he's trying to tell you, just because he goes so in-depth and everything he does is so philosophical.
I'm definitely getting it the day it drops, and I feel like my jiu-jitsu game is going to go up like 6 levels just from hearing like the intro music. Like the DVD is going to start and my jiu-jitsu is going to go up like 6 levels.
You're going to know a lot about jiu-jitsu and then dinosaurs like at the same time. It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
It's going to raise your game.
I know Rob Kahn does a lot of the instructional DVDs. I get the or just instructional moves. I get the messages on my email all the time for the Rob Kahn instructional. Omar, what's going on with that?
There's guys in the game. Yeah, no, he does a lot with him, and he does a lot with his guys down in Gracie, Tampa. He's actually shout out to Rob. He's coming down at the end of the month to the school. We're opening a more expanded space downstairs. So he's coming down at the end of the month. It was his birthday, I believe, yesterday. So today, I think. So happy birthday, Rob Kahn. Thanks for the shout out. But going back to with Kahn and Danaher, like, what do they have in common? They're old school guys in the game. I mean, experience counts, man. Right? In terms of having
it does,
length of time on the mat to give you the perspective, right, Kareem? Like you need the time to think it and to think about it.
Yeah,
Well, Rob,
Donna is seriously the most brilliant mind in it right now for teaching, for instructors.
Well, I hope Rob comes on the show. We have a different host now, so he doesn't have to be insulted anymore. Just throwing that out there.
Oh boy.
Omar.
Oh boy. He doesn't. I mean, when he comes down at the end of the month, I'm gonna try to ambush him, but from far away, because he is good at jiu-jitsu. So when I say ambush, I mean with words and stuff. Maybe in a car. I'll try to ambush him from inside a moving vehicle. And I'll just yell at him. But yeah,
I feel like we need to get Tommy like a pot and a spoon, because he's always stirring shit up, and or just have that sound effect on tap for him.
Like that, yeah. Just being the crazy shit. No, he's trying to make the peace on this one, Kareem. Surprisingly, which is weird.
Yes, this was before the Kareem 15.
Yeah, it was a wild business.
Rob was a little upset with how with Mike Wacker's interview that was not run by Omar or myself.
Yeah,
he was kind of mad.
Yeah. So it'd be nice to get Rob on, because Rob's as again with any of the other, it's just the old school perspective, man. When the worlds of MMA and BJJ were I think they were even a little closer, if that makes any sense, because it was really just you could easily be training one week and then fuck it, I'll fight next week, yeah, why not? Oh yeah, that's cool. So I love old timey war stories, but I do believe that we need to get an Afro wig on Danaher, and he needs to paint and talk. Because he already has the voice, right?
Yeah, it's totally unrelated to anything. Big 209 shout out, happy birthday to Nate Diaz.
Oh yes.
Yeah, can't forget that.
He's what, 36? Yeah. No, 34. He's not. He's weirdly young for the battle scars that he's had.
Another year older and another year of no fights.
Stop it.
No.
I'm
hold on. I'm doing some digging, because I've been hearing little rumblings about he's got some plans involving coming back. And apparently, there was also talk of, he's a lightweight, and nobody ever asked him if he would step in. Whether he would have accepted or not. The whole point is, some people are feeling. Yeah, but now we were talking about where, Nate's all about his money. You're talking about on 2 days' notice, where you would have had to, in a name like Nate Diaz, I don't know what Pettis was thinking, making the weight and then trying to, bully his way in for more money.
Yeah.
There was a disagreement.
Needs to get slapped. Somebody in his camp, right, guys? Can we all agree there? Somebody should have been bro.
Somebody definitely should have been yo, just fight the fucking fight, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But
honestly,
the whole point is, you would have had to pay Nate Diaz a reasonable amount, and I feel like, they would have had a better chance going that way than they would have going the Pettis way. So
I'm glad it went the way it went, though, because it went to a guy who deserves the pub that he's about to get because of that. Because, if Dana doesn't put him in a high-profile fight or pay him more money now after what he did, then I have no faith in Dana anymore. Because Al completely, he did his thing out there. He earned his keep, and definitely deserves shots now.
I don't know how much faith I have in Dana, with his descriptions of, I'm not going to touch on anything too in-depth, but, when he's describing guys' eyeballs being cut, the way he was describing it, don't know how well I'm going to ride out with his decision-making on choice of words lately. Now, maybe this is because of faulty information that gets passed to him, but I would have done some investigating on that before, I explained in the scrum that, his eyes were cut. There's glass in his eye. That's a little extreme.
I'm sure that there were shards of glass in Ray Borg's eye, and I'm sure it scratched his cornea. And anybody who's ever scratched their cornea could tell you it is the worst pain in the world, and it feels like your eyeball was slashed. You can't open your eye.
This is what I'm saying. What you're saying makes more sense. Like, this is something we would have expected to hear from Dana like that. Like, this is what, like him going, this is what they're telling me, or this is what they're saying. But it sounded so much more severe, which had me looking around like going...
He was talking like he was having first-hand experience. That's how he was talking, like he was there. He knew. He didn't show up until everything was over. Like, he walked in the back when he did that interview, like he had just gotten there.
Yeah, and then for him going, like right now he doesn't want to do business, and like, oh yeah, somebody let them in, and like he didn't have, like, listen, if Michael Bisping knew this motherfucker was coming to make an announcement, you knew he was coming to make an announcement.
Well, no. He knew that the plan was, from what the rumblings are, Dana knew he was coming to New York. A, he was coming to New York because Artem was fighting. B, because Khabib was fighting for his belt. And C, because they were supposed to make that Floyd announcement. Dana didn't know that he was going to come to the Barclays Center with, 20 soccer hooligans and make the mess that they made. The Mac Life let them in. Because the Mac Life was following around Artem. So they let him in. Dana wasn't even there. I think Dana was back at the hotel.
Listen,
he wasn't even there.
This is what I'm saying. There's a certain amount of ignorance that you can play to a situation, and then it hits a point where it's got to stop. To say that you didn't know, like, let's put all of this, like, ridiculous, just garbage that stupid-ass McGregor is responsible for, to say you didn't know that he wasn't going to be right there, front row center, for his friend's fight, and right there, front row center, to jump into the winner's face, whoever it was that won that belt, you're either lying or you're a fucking idiot about it. Like, that's fucking crazy. There was no way he was going to be anywhere in the world that wasn't right there, ready to throw in his 2 cents. Even if he was going to go, oh, yeah, we're doing this, bullshit fight with Mayweather, he was definitely going to be there to talk shit to somebody fighting for that belt.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, Dana knew, like I said, Dana knew he was going to be in New York. He knew that he was going to be at the Barclays Center, just not 2 days early to throw a fucking hand truck through a bus window. I think Dana was anticipating him doing something stupid to the winner of the fight for the lightweight title, for sure.
I feel like for all of the security that goes up for events and different things going on, the little bit of video footage I've seen, there was like no one out there looking out for these people. Like, you could have been a fan from like the loose bit of security, and like you could have. It seemed like anybody could have just walked in. That's fucking stupid. And I'm sorry, I'm a man of facts. Connor's a fucking moron. Artem's a fucking moron. But still, I do believe they're laying it on a little thick. That's all I'm saying. Like, not it's not real, not it didn't happen, not people aren't injured, but out the gate, this was all made to sound 1,000 times worse than it's starting to sound now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, usually with cases like this that are going through the court system, they're going to make it sound more than it really is because of the money factor. If it's worse than it is, somebody's going to be paying more. Right, Omar?
It's always going to be a situation where I think there's going to be questions about it, but it's starting to smell funny, guys. Yeah,
That's what I say.
I mean,
it really is. Because look, I saw a little video footage of Connor walking out after terms of like, I've got a pass. You guys got passed. Tommy, you definitely got a pass. On some assault charge like that, you don't just get to walk out like king shit. You don't just get to show up and, like, Connor walked in like a dude that was angry about a couple of things, but he wasn't pressed. He wasn't guarded up. He didn't get treated like a high-profile case where they're surrounding him with cops in case people are trying to get to him. He just kind of, like, walked in and then walked out like it was nothing. And I've never heard of a case like that.
There's a lot of pictures with the cops, too. Like, a lot of pictures.
That wasn't the same. Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. That wasn't the same day because the outfits are different. I was looking at those pictures. Not the
no,
same
what I'm
outfit
saying is
that he
like
was wearing.
you throw some shit through a window, and to whatever degree get glass in someone's eye, cut a dude's face up, and all of this other shit. The mountain of charges that should have been heaped on weren't. And usually, when you're not a citizen here, they don't go, you know what, bail yourself out. We believe you'll fly to Ireland and come back when we like. Who that shit doesn't
Not
happen.
yet. Yeah.
The first,
As if my
the
man's
first thing
not
they do
a
is
flight
go
risk.
passport. Pass
He's the
off.
biggest flight risk on the fucking planet right now. You don't
Exactly.
Think come on, get out of
That's
here.
what I'm saying. Like that was the number one thing that made me go, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Well, have
really?
you guys ever heard of white privilege? I mean, come on.
Did he?
Tommy, we all know white privilege isn't real.
Oh.
I just had to throw that out there because I saw
there's
so
a
many
few
people saying
things,
that.
yeah. There's a few things that you can throw some weight behind, and there's a few things you can't. You can count on the sun to come up, and you can count on it to go down. You can throw some faith behind that. What you can't believe in, that's phony, is white privilege, affirmative action, and Jesus.
No.
Hey, you leave the Jesus part out of it. You leave that out of it.
Finish him!
Vince Neil only did 30 days, and he killed somebody in his fucking Ferrari. You know what I mean? Drunk driving, and he only did 30 days in jail.
Well, the judge took pity on him because he's like, "Yo, this guy got to wake up every day as Vince Neil." So, you know, I think he probably was like, he's suffered enough. Fuck out of here.
All I'm saying is you got to look at some of the things that have happened. And then all these guys live here in this country. All these guys are like American citizens. Connor's not. And like, you know, I like when I heard that was like, you know, oh, they grounded his plane and all, and I'm going, and I was like, that makes sense. Of course, they're not going to let him go back to Ireland because worst case scenario, he could continue to fight and never fight in the United States again. So, like, why would they let his plane take off? Why would they let him go back to Ireland? And then
and then the U.S. loses, right? Like, U.S. venues lose money at that point. It's almost like he can penalize the U.S. and say, "Go fuck yourself."
He paid his $50,000 bail, which I mean that was a joke. I mean his legal team, he had like fucking 3 lawyers. He had like 3, and also. The UFC probably didn't press charges on him.
No.
They didn't press charges on him. So, yeah, he can. You know, if somebody doesn't press charges, you can be bailed out and go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if
but usually with things like that, it's just the same thing as, like, domestic cases where a person doesn't press charges and it's a serious assault. The state steps in and presses the charges, like, for that person. Like usually, because they don't usually just let shit like that go.
I wonder if it matters because the UFC is a, you know, the UFC is a company and it's not just like a regular domestic charge. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know anything about this stuff. I think you know, if I knew anybody who was a lawyer and handled this stuff, I'd love to have them come on and explain to us how it went. Yeah. But I mean, for $50,000, I thought that was a little light for bail.
Somebody pissed in the wind for that one, but
yeah,
because you know I'm a huge McGregor fan, and what he did was like fucking stupid. If you're gonna go that route behind having somebody's back, what you should have done, and again, I'm not advocating. No, in this case, maybe I'm advocating a little bit of violence, but what you do is you send the goons ahead for you, and you sit back, and if anybody asks you anything, oh well, we're all friends, man. What do you think they're gonna do? Because, I maintain that Khabib brought this on himself. Because, whatever, if you don't like what Artem said, you don't have to like what he said. He didn't come up to you with a group of people. He wasn't yelling and screaming at you. He didn't try and hit you. You sunned him on some street shit. You sunned him, and you slapped him upside his head. And, you know, what is he going to do? It's like 10 of you guys.
Well, there's also a backstory that goes on with this with I think the guy's a fighter in Russia. And he got jumped at a club in Russia, and they almost killed him, and he got shot with BBs, and he was thinking that the guy was friends with Khabib, and the guy was thinking that Artem was part of it. So there's a whole lot of underlying stuff that's going on with that. But you know what? Artem and Conor were doing nothing but talking shit about Khabib on social media. Had that been
talking
Conor,
shit. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
But like if a guy's by himself,
had that been Conor walking in the hallway, I think Khabib would have done the same thing. So
I'm not saying he wouldn't have. What I'm saying is, like, when you do that, it's just like Nate said. You're going to impress somebody's homeboy and think you're not going to get rolled up on. Like, look what happened. However smart this move was, or kind of beating up them two guys in the bar over in Ireland, like, yo, if he hears one of his friends gets jumped. Doesn't matter, like his friends from one part of the Irish mob, these other two guys are from a different part. It didn't matter to him. He went there, he put some paws on some people, and then he went about his business. Now, if he'll do that, what makes a guy he's supposed to fight at some point in the near future think he's not going to have anything to say about you slapping one of his friends upside the head?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And this whole situation kind of solidifies the fact that he probably did bitch slap mob guys over in Ireland. I don't think it was to the extreme that people making it with, you know, the hit that was out on him, or it very well could have been, and Conor had to pay some money.
Yeah.
So his actions
what I heard
as
is
of late
that
prove that. You
it
know?
was like the friend he stuck up for was in that it was like kind of like an in-house dispute thing. His boy got jumped on, and he jumped up to his defense, and because, you know, the end of it was, hey, listen, I don't give a shit where these guys are from. I don't know that they're in any whatever. I just know this is my boy, and he jumped on them. And they kind of like, you know, it gets washed off as, well, he was defending this guy, and these guys did jump on him. And, you know, like, you know, one hand washes the other. Like, kind of cancels each other out. But Khabib, dude's an awesome fighter. Seems to be a nice enough dude when you sit in the room and talk to him. But for him to, like, do what he did with Artem and then be looking out like, what the fuck is wrong with Conor, is kind of crazy. And two, he's playing the role of talking about... I don't think he was looking
at him as what's wrong with Conor. I don't think...
No, I mean, like, looking at him not like he's... Like, not like he was, like, scared or, like... He's, like, looking at him like, why do this? Like, you know, oh, he's fighting the bus and this and this. You know, name a time and a place. The time and the place was right there in their garage, just like you pressed Artem with a bunch of your boys. So if Khabib was the, like, if he was like the gangster he's making himself out to be, like talking shit about Conor showing up and attacking the bus, he would have got off. Like, just like Nate, like, I agree 100% with Nate. You didn't expect Conor to do anything. And then when he showed up, as tough as you seem to be any other time, he stayed on the bus.
Well,
he could have got off.
Before we close out, what I think it was is Khabib was pretty much saying that the two situations are different. Conor made himself look fucking stupid doing what he did, and Khabib was just an altercation in a hallway, which Conor's had with Tyron Woodley, and Conor's had with other fighters. But what Conor did to the buses, he just made himself look stupid. So whatever chips Conor had, he lost them.
They should just settle it like Biggie and Tupac, man. All right? Enough with this going back and forth and throwing shit, all right? Next time, I want to see some shots fired, or else nobody's worth nothing, all right? Just come on, man. Everybody's talking about gangster shit.
That's what they need to do. Really they just need to fight. They just need to fight. Dana, pay him whatever the hell he wants. Let Khabib put him on his back for 5 rounds.
Get the burners.
And then that's it.
All right?
Listen,
get the burners and just clap at a couple people. It's over.
I forget who. I think it was Eddie Alvarez that was just saying, if Khabib fights Conor the way he just fought Iaquinta and fights everybody else, even Alvarez said that Conor's going to knock him out, and it's going to be bad, and it's going to be fast. He backs away with his chin up in the air like a high school cheerleader's legs on prom night, and the fight starts out on the feet.
Yeah, but he's not gonna fight Conor that way. He's gonna fight Conor the way he was. He's gonna fight Conor the way he was fighting Al the first 2 rounds, pressing him up against the cage and putting him on his back. The difference is, I don't think Conor's got the ground skill that Al has to be able to get back up. I think it
fully
look like
agreed.
What he did to Barboza. That's what I think it would look like.
Alvarez's point was like somebody with the knockout power that Conor has is going to hurt him a lot more on him coming in for them takedowns than he was getting hurt by Al. And this is a guy who's gotten hit by him, and this is a guy who got knocked out and put down by him. He's not saying he's afraid of Conor. He's not like dick riding him. He was in there. Khabib hasn't been.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, so, this is what I'm saying. Like, he's got to, the only way we're going to know is the first time he comes in and he goes for his first takedown and he gets rocked with an uppercut or popped with that left, if he stumbles, like his natural instinct is going to be to second guess how he's taking that shot. And in that moment that he's second guessing how he's going to enter in for a shot is when he's either getting kicked in his solar plexus or he's getting popped with another. This is what I'm saying. Like, unless he if he Rockies his way through those punches, then it's going to be a bad night for Conor, 100%. But I don't think he's gonna walk through him.
Well, that's that unicorn that we always talk about, that fight happening. So listen, we're going to close out on that. Kareem, you came in with the fire tonight, brother. It's nice to hear you again.
Nice to be on.
Yes. Hopefully you grace us with your presence some more. So, guys,
for sure.
Next week we have returning to the show Eddie Truck Gordon to talk about his entering the Pro Fight League $1 million tournament. I'm excited for that. Omar, this was a great show despite us being stood up. I know Steve's got a big fight ahead of him, so I don't blame him for what he did. If he wants to come back on again, we could set something up. Hopefully we get something definite. So for our wonderful sponsors, 80K Fightwear, Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu, Madama Jiu-Jitsu, 2 Minute Warning Sports 360, I'm the Reverend Tommy D, joined with me, as always, by El Professor, Omar Sangarima, Kareem with the Kareem 15. We are Pride Rules Podcast. Good night.
Sue.